Now, let's see how this goes this afternoon. Tomorrow is going to see a new president-elect in the United States. Either the next President Clinton, could well be that we see the dawn of an entirely new political dynasty headed by President Trump. Who knows? Let's discuss a few things about the campaign so far, about what the candidates stand for, what it might mean for us here in the Emirates, what it means for the United States, for Americans overseas. Let's talk to the Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas, UAE, Joshua Atkinson, who is here. Joshua, good of you to come in.
Great to be here with you today.
And also, Orlando Vidal is the Chairman of Democrats Abroad, UAE. Orlando, good to meet you.
Thanks for the invitation.
So, look, first things first, no punching below the belt. If I say break, let's just get the ground rules clear. I want to come to you with where we are now to start this debate, and I want to be as balanced as I can possibly be. Feel free to jump in, politely of course. If you've got a text for us, you want to ask a question, make a point, do that on 4001 via the free app. And I want to start with this. Polls at the moment, for the last week or so, have been it really looks like a very, very tight race. Let me ask you, first of all, Joshua, it seems like a tight race. Is it?
The last 2 weeks, we've seen the poll ratings for Hillary Clinton dive, especially since the FBI investigation, the Anthony Weiner, Houman Abedin, Clinton Foundation scandals. A lot of these things have gone out, and her numbers have been going down. Trump's numbers have been noticeably going up. So he's really, I believe, peaking at the right time with this movement that is going on with the supporters.
Orlando, what do you think?
Well, the polls do not, most of the polls anyway, the legitimate polls, do not have them close at all. The latest poll shows Hillary 4 points ahead, and that is not close when it comes to polling.
Okay.
When it comes to, even just look at the New York Times today. The New York Times today is giving Hillary an 84% chance of winning the election, and I think that's about right.
Joshua,
I'd like to bring us back to 1980 when Reagan and Carter were going up to the election.
Very different days.
Reagan was actually trailing Carter up until the day of the election.
Right.
And Reagan won by a landslide, and that's something that we believe in the Trump camp.
Yeah, but I think we
happen.
can all agree that Trump is not Reagan.
But Trump stands on many of the same policies that Reagan did, and with his economic plans that he's going to be instilling is very similar to Reagan economics.
Can we talk about policy? Because that's something that we wanted to bring up next. Do you know, Tim and I were discussing this today, and there are just so many different policies talked about throughout the election period. It goes on for months and months and months, and you can't always catch up. You don't always know what Hillary Clinton stands for and what Donald Trump stands for. And Tim and I were sitting there today just going, hang on a minute, do you know? Do you know?
No, genuinely we were actually, because I mean, the thing around this is it's very easy to find policies on either side. So the problem is this has been unfriendly to say the least. It's been a rancorous race so far. That will unlikely end today. But we were confused. Let me ask you, I'll give you a minute on this, Orlando, to start with. What does Mrs. Clinton stand for?
Mrs. Clinton stands for freedom, for progressive America, for not leaving anyone behind, for taking care of the most vulnerable, for a strong foreign policy, for reasonableness, and for experience. All things that Trump, we can, I think, agree, except, of course, my friend Joshua wouldn't agree, Trump does not stand for. And you'll forgive me, Tim, if I take an issue with your approach, which I understand the approach you're taking, which is the approach most reporters are taking. You guys want to be fair, and you want to give both sides an equal amount of time, and the media generally creates this false equivalency that you're talking to two people that are similar, two candidates in just the same old election, and this is not the same old election.
That's probably true, but if you're reporting on an election, it is the same old election. You have candidates on either side. I understand that. We're accused of bias here by running humorous Donald Trump anecdotes, for example, and it is simply, I would put forward a case that Mr. Trump is a better comedic target. And it is really simple that's the way why we would take that approach. Mrs. Clinton, by comparison, if you look at it purely from a comedic standpoint, and we're looking for entertainment or humor or whatever else, Mrs. Clinton, by comparison, is relatively dull. Joshua, I don't mean that as an insult. That's just simply how
Not
I guess a
taken
lot of
personally.
people view it, and I think that's a reasonable thing to say.
I'd like to respond to your question now concerning the policy that you
Sure.
asked. First, I'd like to say that Donald Trump loves all Americans. And you can see that with the rallies that he's having across multiple states every day. Tens of thousands of people are coming to his rallies all across America because they see that he's real. They see that he wants to end the corruption in Washington, and they see that he cares about them. So
I'm
some
not
of the
sure. I'm not sure that lots of Muslim Americans, or perhaps Americans from
and yes, Donald Trump
Latin
loves
America,
Muslim Americans also, and there are many that support him.
there would be people that would beg to differ there, though.
Well, that's the fact.
Based on
there are
his
many. Yeah,
comments.
there are many in the Republican Party. There are many independents that are Muslims and that are supporting Donald Trump.
Sure, and there are
We've
many who
seen
aren't,
that over
though,
here.
surely.
Yeah. So regarding the policy, Donald Trump. I've got here in my hands Donald Trump's 100-day action plan to make America great again,
Right.
Which he has made available to all the voters and supporters of the Trump campaign, and it very clearly defines out what he is looking to do as far as renegotiating trade agreements, reboosting the economy, reducing taxes to increase jobs in the U.S., also stopping the flight of American manufacturing, because we're having so many industries that are leaving America because the tax burden is so strong.
Okay. It is a document. It has been signed by Donald Trump. I have to go back to the original case, though. I'm not sure you can make an assertion that Mr. Trump loves all Americans. I'm not sure that that's the case. He said that he doesn't.
Yeah, if you're Hispanic American, as I happen to be, and of Mexican descent,
Right.
He wants to build that wall. If you're a Muslim American, he wants, actually, if you're Muslim, period, he wants to bar you from visiting the United
That
States.
is not true. That is taken out of context.
Joshua,
and it's regards to the security of what we are looking to do in America. A nation without borders is no nation at all.
Everyone wants a secure nation. We can all agree with that. And we would want to support a policy that makes America safe. We would want a policy similar here that makes
And
UAE
that's what
safe.
Donald Trump is
how
promoting.
how can you say this is taken out of context? He simply said, I would look to ban all Muslims from coming to the country.
Okay, right now what we're looking at one soundbite of something that is taken out of context. If I have seen that particular speech and what that is in relation to, he does love all Americans, including Muslims, including gays, including everybody who is there. He cares about America. That's why he's doing this. He's getting off of he's going to make less money by doing this because he cares about America.
Does he love all Americans any more than Hillary Clinton does, Orlando?
Well, listen, I think what's important is what you do and not what you say. Hillary has been in public service for 40 years.
And had 40 years
40
of very
year-
devastating scandals throughout that time.
She has been under the public eye for 40 years, and you cannot really say that this is a woman that doesn't reach across the aisle, doesn't care for the less fortunate, and reaches out to actually all Americans, regardless of their race or their condition. The problem with Donald Trump and obviously his supporters is that he says something and then they take it back, or no, he really didn't mean that.
Well,
just
let's take a look
just
at what
take him at
Hillary
his
Clinton
word.
does for the last 40 years. You know, she's taken money from terrorist states.
No, hold on. Let's look at the election now. I don't want to get into the last 40 years. I want to look particularly, Joshua, at the election now and what people are saying now.
All right, they're now investigating the Clinton Foundation for hundreds of million dollars of scandal.
Mr. Trump is under investigation for a number of things as well. So let's leave
Not to
that
that
to one
degree.
side. Degrees, schmigrees. That's not the point at the moment. Let's come back in a few moments' time. The ambulance hasn't been called into action, I'm glad to say. There is still another 10 minutes, though, guys. I want to talk to you about what a win might mean for U.S. citizens abroad, what it might mean for U.S. citizens, and the perception, I guess, for you as Americans living outside of the U.S. You have a uniquely different perspective to those living in the U.S. voting today. So we'll talk about that in a few moments' time. Our guests are the Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas UAE, Joshua Atkinson, is with us. Orlando Vidal is the Chairman of Democrats Abroad UAE. If you have something you'd like to say to either of our guests or a point you'd like to make, you can get involved in this conversation if you would like to, 4001 or via the free app, or you could call 423 1010.
This is Drive Live with Tim Elliott and Alex Hershey.
On DubaiEye 103.8.
We kind of knew there wouldn't be enough time for this debate this afternoon, but we have Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas for the UAE, Joshua Atkinson, here. Orlando Vidal is with him. He's the chairman of Democrats Abroad UAE. It is a unique atmosphere in this studio this afternoon on a day like this in the US, where we will see a new president elected. Lots and lots of questions to ask. Alex, something that I guess is important locally and regionally.
Yeah, voter turnout here. That's what I'd like to know about. So voter turnout, we've been reading abroad, it has traditionally been low in previous elections, but is there any way of telling how Americans have voted this time around as expats?
Yeah, well, I can tell you, first it'll take a little bit of time actually to figure out how many people have voted from the UAE and how many people have voted from abroad, because we do have a complicated system in the US. But I can tell you that we have doubled our membership at Democrats Abroad this year alone and just in the past few months.
What about campaigning? Have you done a lot of campaigning based here in the UAE for those expats who really didn't know who they wanted to choose this time around?
One of the things that we've done is we've gone around and talked to voters who were sitting on the fence. Explain to them, what the reality of things on the ground. We said, look at the policies of what they're standing on, what they're going to enact. And to be honest, most of those that we talked to are now voting for Trump instead of sitting on the fence.
What do you see, how do you see how the US is reflected in this campaign? Because it has been, from a political, from a social standpoint, the narrative has been pretty low at points. The behaviour has been fairly below the belt. I think it's reasonable to say. Orlando, how do you view, and how do friends of yours, how do Americans abroad view America and how it seems to the rest of the world?
Well, listen, sitting here with you, I feel like I almost have to apologize for the behavior of some people, and the main person for the Republicans, Donald Trump, has acted in this campaign. I feel like I need to apologize on behalf of all Americans, because he does not reflect the values that we have as Americans, and it does not
Orlando,
reflect our democratic process.
Of all of Americans on that. Fact check.
I mean, the thing is, Joshua, that's an opinion, and it's fine, and I did ask for an opinion. I'll ask you the same thing. Yeah. How do you feel it reflects? Because if you look at the way the campaign has been handled, and this is on both sides, I'm not going to I will sit on a dividing line here on purpose. I'm going to sit on the fence. But to me, it has been really low.
It has been very divisive this year, and on both sides, I mean, people have gone below the belt at times, and that's something we want to see the American democratic process upheld in a respectable way. We want people talking about policies where we're going to take the country, not just trying to continue the same old policies that haven't worked.
Do either of these candidates have a strong policy when it comes to UAE-US relations? What will change, for example, Orlando, if Hillary Clinton is elected, between these two countries?
Well, I think actually relations between our countries will be stronger under Hillary presidency. Certainly stronger than it would be if Trump wins, but even stronger than they have been with President Clinton, with President Obama. Hillary can rely on relationships that she's developed since the time she was a first lady, and in her time in the Senate and her time as a Secretary of State. So I think they'll be much stronger.
Orlando, she is a known quantity. Mr. Trump, Joshua, is an unknown quantity. What would you say to
True. And Orlando, I have to beg to differ with you. Secretary Clinton has supported foreign policies in the region that have detrimented the relationship with the UAE, Saudi, and other nationalities. So what we are looking to do with Trump, I'm very confident. He's already met with some of the presidents in the region. We, with Republicans overseas, have met with several of the ambassadors in the region, close to 20 so far this year, just alone in the UAE, to develop and to uphold building relationships in the UAE and the region, because we view it's very important.
Can I ask a question? This is a personal question, actually. Does he like Mr. Putin or not? I can't work out what's going on there. I know it's a bit of a low shot,
question.
And I don't mean
it is
that.
A very good question.
But it is actually a serious question, because
and I will give you a serious answer.
Well, that relationship is a critical relationship.
Donald Trump is interested to protect the interests of America, to have a successful and safe country. Hillary Clinton is going to enact policies that could potentially put the U.S. in a very dangerous position with Russia.
Of course not.
Donald Trump is planning to look to see how we can better those relationships. He doesn't have any personal bias one way or another, but it would be good if people got along, would it not?
Here's a question for you, just before we wrap up. A listener question, no name on this, just saying, while Trump is the Republican candidate, does he really represent Republican values in all of his policies? There have been...
And there's an addendum to that question as well, or are these Trump values?
Are these Trump values and not Republican values?
Well, the traditional foundation of Republican values is policies based on the Constitution. Donald Trump supports the Constitution of values and the Judeo-Christian values that founded the United States of America. So while I cannot speak for all of Trump's policies, I can speak for all of the ones that I have read, and most of the ones that I don't agree with everything, but I agree with most things. Those are supporting in the Constitution and what America was based and founded
Well,
on.
that was kind of the anti-Trump, most recent anti-Trump text. Let's give you an anti-Clinton text, and we'll give you this one, Orlando. It was, Trump should be elected as Clinton has proved 40 years of no good. Trump is frank in his opinions. Clinton, 40 years experience. She doesn't know how to handle emails, this person is saying. Familiar argument.
Well, yeah, and already an old and tired argument. She's apologized. She made a mistake as to the emails. The FBI has found that no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges. Let's just move on.
The NYPD has an active investigation in the Clinton email scandal and also for the Clinton Foundation, which will be ongoing for the next 12 to 18 months.
Again, the Trump Foundation is under investigation as well. Trump University, there are a number of things there. So let's leave that.
It's nowhere near the same scope.
It's degrees, though, isn't it? Once again. Here's a question for you from Mike, and I guess this might be a nice way to finish, actually. Get your thoughts on this. Is there any likelihood that after this very ugly election, a third party could emerge in US politics? Because it is a two-horse race. Traditionally, it has been. I know we've got 4 sides to vote for today, but it will be one or the other. Orlando, first of all.
Well, I think Donald Trump has done one good thing, and that is destroyed the Republican Party. You will see today many Republicans voting for Hillary, and thank goodness for that.
I'm guessing, Joshua, you disagree with that.
Naturally. There have been many of the Republicans that have been coming home in the last few weeks. And also, it's a movement within the Republican Party. I mean, whether Trump wins or loses, this movement has started. He is standing up. America has woken up. He's exposed this corrupt system in Washington. He's fighting for the Constitution and for the people. And this movement will not stop. So whether he wins or whether he doesn't get elected president, this movement will continue, and it'll be great for the United States.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say that thank
God
that the election is over today, and this
I agree with
that. This better stop.
Do you know, that is the greatest
we can agree on that.
place to end. We have an agreement between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Let's shake on that, Orlando.
Finally. Our 2 guests, Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas, Joshua Atkinson. Good to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In.
It's a pleasure.
And Orlando Vidal is the chairman of Democrats Abroad in the UAE. Orlando, nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us your time today. Whoever wins, there was a handshake. We should have taken a picture of that.
That was a real moment, wasn't it?
Oh, dear. Yeah, spread the love.